Hi everyone, my name is David McLeod and I am your Life Mastery Coach and best-selling lead author of the new book, Gifts of Wisdom, Practices for Healing and Empowerment, which is now available on Amazon at the link below. Welcome to my chapter reading sessions for this book, in which you get to meet each author and listen in during a personal reading of that person's entire chapter from this wonderful little book. Today, my guest is Jo Halligan, who contributed chapter 16. Mary Jo is a massage therapist, yoga and detox practitioner, and spiritual teacher who is currently in transition towards her next great endeavor. Welcome, Mary Jo, and thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Good. Wonderful to be here with you and to be part of the Gifts of Wisdom book, and delighted to share my chapter.
Right, and I'm sure everyone is going to notice your accent. So tell us a little bit about that and where you are, what you're doing, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was brought up in Ireland, on the west coast of Ireland, County Mayo. And in 2008, I moved to New Zealand with my partner, Steve, who is chapter number 14. And we've been here ever since. And in December 2023, just not that long ago, we sold our wellness retreat and day spa, which we had been running together for 9 years. So yeah, so the background is it's always been about health and well-being and how we can transform our life and empowerment. Even as a young child, I talk about that in the chapter, I had an awareness that there's got to be another way to live. So I've always had a sense of getting out into the world and traveling and discovering new ways to live. And then it was through traveling that really tapped me into yoga and meditation and massage and got me inspired. And then I went and did the trainings and didn't really know what I was doing. And then it all came together when I started my day spa and retreat. And then I could really bring all those skills and background and experience and training and my own personal healing and transformation to support those who came to the retreat and were guided to take that step for themselves and was looking for their own transformation and wellness tools. So I'm pretty passionate about wellness tools and empowerment, so that people really have it in their own lives to empower themselves. Because I feel that's where we're at on the planet.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. And so somehow you found your way to this project, and you ended up writing a beautiful chapter. So tell us a little bit about that process and how you ended up here and what you wrote about.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, this year, 2024, is definitely life in transition. I was very guided in 2020. I got the message that it was time to transition out of the retreat, which was actually quite shocking for my human, because it felt like it was a heart dream to live the way we were living in the retreat and the day spa and what I was doing. However, I got the guidance that it was time to transition. And so the 3 years before we sold, it was very much life in transition, as well as we all have been since 2020. It's been huge. I think pretty much everybody can relate that their lives have been in transition somehow since then. And we I knew by the December 2023 for definite, like I had to be out of there. I just knew I had to be out of there for my own health, my own evolution, and that the calling was so strong. And then 2023, to be quite honest, was a lot of letting go, a lot of grief of letting go this past version of self. And as I was in that process, beautiful Janine, who is part of the book as well, reached out to me about this project. And at the time, I wasn't initially in a place to really receive it, or just because I was going through so much of my own process and adjusting to this, this new evolutionary process that I was in. And then a few weeks later, it dawned on me that it was time to start saying yes to things. That because there was a few things coming my way, but I still was kind of holding on and not letting go and not fully embracing the new. And so it dawned on me one day. So then I was like, okay, I went back to Janine and I said, can you send me that link again? I'm going to have another look at it. And so I started saying yes to this project. I said yes to a couple of other things that came my way as well. And yeah, I'm so grateful for the opportunity, because it's definitely helped my transition, and to start even writing the process of writing the chapter, to be more kind of in reflective of the journey that I've taken, and to start stepping into opening the next chapter, so to speak, pardon the pun, into what's next for myself. And the writer in me has been wanting to blossom for many years. And yeah, I've played around with it, but this was the first time to really, yeah, to really, I mean, the project has been so incredible. The collaboration, the support. I mean, it's been like for anybody who wants to get into writing, like a no-brainer in terms of that level of support and guidance. So I've loved the journey. It's given so much insight of how we can come together and collaborate and support all our expressions and our wisdom, and to give it a platform. But also, yeah, I think the support is incredible, and the publishing company as well. Just, yeah, so I've loved the whole journey. It's been incredible, and to be with incredible people sharing their wisdom. I mean, for my soul, what could be better? What could be better?
Well, thank you for that, Mary Jo. That sounds pretty exciting. And I mean, I guess everybody's now chomping at the bit. I'm certainly chomping at the bit, and I'd like to have you read your chapter now. So I'm going to invite everyone, please give your full attention to Mary Jo Halligan as she reads chapter 16, Releasing the Habits of Anxiety, the Art of Gratitude to Transform Your Life.
My story. I want to be asleep and not have to do this human life thing today. I awake reluctantly after a rough night of tossing and turning before sleep finally took hold. The energy rushes to my head as the pressing thoughts squeeze my brain. My muscles become agitated with dull aches and tension. The thoughts demand more of my attention as my sensitive nervous system tilts into sympathetic overdrive, ringing the resounding alarm bells of doomsday alert, danger, danger. In my attempt to distance myself from all the noisy chatter and uncomfortable sensations, I turn over onto my right side, pulling the cozy, warm bed covers over my shoulders. Maybe it's just a bad dream. I resist getting up as I cling desperately to the warmth of my cocoon. Fuck, I hate this feeling of desperation. What the fuck was I thinking anyways? Why do I seem to mess things up with my big ideas? Who do I think I am to believe I can change my life and live my dreams in peace and joy and harmony? Whose bright idea was this to throw myself into this deep hole and trust I'd find a way out? Oh yeah, it was mine. I feel sickly with a heaviness in my abdomen area. I don't want to move an inch, and I can't stay still as my thoughts rage, spinning me out of any restfulness. How nice it would be to wake up again and discover it was all a nightmare I imagined. Oh, I welcome that kind of relief right now. It seems so ironic to find my body semi-frozen like a deer caught in the headlights. The fear feels crippling. My intention and desire was to muster the courage and faith to stretch myself into new, empowering ways of thinking and behaving. I wanted to explore new possibilities that excited my heart by living more authentically and moving in the direction that felt most liberating. I wanted to believe I could become a more empowered version of myself, who wasn't constantly fighting off and trying to manage self-doubt and self-worth issues. Even with all the years of traveling, yoga, meditation, massage, and holistic modalities, healing modalities, here I was, juggling with the same old crappy thinking patterns and nervous energy I dealt with in my childhood. I'll reread that one. Even with all the years of traveling, yoga, meditation, massage, and healing modalities, here I was, juggling with the same old crappy thinking patterns and nervous energy I dealt with in my childhood. I still felt like that overwhelmed little girl who grew up on a little farm on the west coast of Ireland, spending 3 of those formative years in 2 different children's homes. Yet here I was, still trying to hold it all together, feeling burdened and under-resourced. The difference was I was 31 now, years old, and living my life on the other side of the globe in New Zealand. Over the years, I did my best to release the habits of anxiety by discovering new ways to live my life. I learned to take risks when I was unhappy by doing things out of my comfort zone. I choose to follow my heart instead of heeding the fearful thoughts of my monkey mind. I often made decisions that made no sense to my logical mind and leaned into trusting my inner senses to guide me. I knew obsessive worry was such a shitty tool for life, but that was what I had picked up in my childhood. Worrying and my stomach churning into knots was still a default habit I was working to shake out of my subconscious patterns. I feared deep down I had messed things up so badly and done something unforgivably wrong. Accompanying the worries were the rushing thoughts about my future. I cared far too much about other people's judgments and opinions. I chanted loudly to counteract this. What other people think about me is none of my business. As I lay in my bed dealing with the discomforts in my mind and body, I focused on my breath to try to relax and slow the thoughts down. Maybe I can create some space between the bumper to bumper thoughts to get a moment's peace. As I followed the inhale of my breath and exhaled, old memories from my childhood connected to the body sensations I experienced rose like a phoenix into my mind's eye. I held the vision of my 11-year-old self and my first and only hospital visit. And after what seemed like a long night of discomfort, suffering from abdominal pains and cramps, my father had driven me the 20-minute journey to take me to see the local doctor, who said, "Get her to the hospital right away." At the hospital, they held my little body down to extract blood samples from my spinal area as a nurse whispered in my ear, "Don't be a crybaby." They never did figure out what was up with me, even with all the blood tests. As a young child, I had an intense sense I'd need to discover how to heal myself in this life. By age 9 or 10, I knew I didn't want to end up like my mother, whom I witnessed living what seemed to be a very unsafe and unhappy existence, traveling to and fro to stay at what was called the mental hospital back then. By age 14 or 15, I knew I did not prefer to end up like my father either. He seemed consumed with regret and bitterness for not having the courage to follow his dreams and create a better life for himself when he was younger and had the chance. After my 11-year-old childhood memories subsided, another one surfaced to take its place. This time, I was aware of myself as a child at primary school. On another day when I experienced intense cramping pains in my abdomen. With the level of discomfort I experienced, it took every bit of my focus and energy to hold it all together and pretend I was okay. I dared not let on that something was up with me. It wasn't that the teacher was mean, even though he could be. It was that I perceived I had no one I could confide in without causing a fuss, and I avoided any kind of spotlight focus on me. Thankfully, I discovered a way to help myself to reduce the pain. When the lunchtime bell rang to alert the students to return to class, instead of heading back in with everyone else, I stayed in the girls' bathroom. It was located in the schoolyard in a separate building from the classrooms. With no one around and the schoolyard quiet, I laid my body down on my back. As I did this, the sensations of the cool concrete floor took over my attention. I brought all my focus onto my breathing. As I did this, I noticed the gripping, cramping pains decreased, and I could return to class with relative ease to get through the rest of my day. A sudden thud echoed, and instantly my attention was firmly back in my bedroom. The childhood memories dropped away, dissolving back into wherever they came from. I looked in the direction of where the thud came from and noticed a bird crashed precariously into the window. This timely distraction helped me become present enough in my body to make the assertive decision to get out of bed and have a shower. No more thinking, I proclaimed, let's get moving. As I moved my body in the direction of the ensuite bathroom, a new wave of panic thinking rattled my nervous system with the reality check that reminded me, you're in $65,000 worth of debt. What was worse was the bitter shame I felt as I had risked borrowing that money and then proceeded to give it away to a network marketing company. I joined the company because it held the promise of freedom if I followed their lead and achieved the entrepreneurial and financial success stories they promised. Before I arrived in New Zealand a year and a half earlier in 2008, I traveled around Costa Rica in Central America with my partner. One day it became shockingly clear that my heart was done traveling. The message I received went something like this: it's time to stop being a fly on the wall and do something with all you've learned, with all of your life experiences. 2 months later, I arrived in New Zealand on a 1-year work and holiday visa. Even before the plane started its descent into Auckland Airport, and knowing this was our first time visiting this country, I turned to my partner Steve and declared, welcome home. In Auckland City, we bought a camper van. Over the following months, we drove southward and eventually entered the little alpine village of Hamner Springs. It was wintertime, and we needed work and a roof over our heads. I was delighted to be offered work as a massage therapist at the local thermal pools and spa within an hour of our arrival. By that evening, we moved into a house where we found a spacious room to rent. Within a few months of working at the local day spa, I started to feel my passion for working as a massage therapist decline. I needed to leave the job before all the passion got squeezed out of me. However, the only way I knew how to make money was to be an employee. Business ownership was never a role model to me growing up, nor did I know anyone at that time who owned a business either. Yet the feeling nagged my heart that I had the potential to start my own massage business and create it in a way that sang to my heart and soul. That led me to sign up with the network marketing company to learn how to think and act more like a business person with an entrepreneurial spirit and a millionaire mindset. I took the initial leap of faith and invested 3,000 NZ dollars to receive the first personal development product the company offered. I attended the weekly training calls, which were helpful over those first few months. If only I had left it there and trusted that was all I needed from that company to set sail on my entrepreneurial visionary path. The real issue was my lack of trust in my capabilities, married with self-worth and self-value issues. My suffering came from this inner conflict of push and pull, yes and no, heart and head in a tug of war instead of agreement. A big aha moment of profound clarity I received from getting myself into such a debt hole was: passion doesn't follow money. Money follows passion. I learned the hard way that I had to stay true to the deeper visions and guidance of my heart, no matter what. Money didn't drive nor inspire my heart and soul. Passion did. And I had a passion for caring for people's well-being and empowering their spirits. As I stood in my warm shower, feeling the nurturing caress of the water cascade over my shoulders and down my back, a flicker of hope whispered, "I will get through this." Just then, I turned to my right and saw the sticker on the shower tiles that shone out to me as I read the words, "What am I grateful for today?" In that moment, gratitude wasn't what I was experiencing. I repeated the question out loud to myself a second time. What am I grateful for today? Again, I wasn't feeling much to be grateful for and everything to be uneasy about. When I asked the third time, I felt a softening in my body and breath. I took a sigh and released my breath. I spoke out loudly. I am grateful. I remembered to take a breath. As the warm water flowed over my body, I spoke out loudly again. What am I truly grateful for today? This time I responded, I am grateful for my shower. I am grateful for the warm water in my shower. I am grateful for the roof over my head. I am grateful for my cozy bed. I am grateful for my lovely bedroom and bathroom. I am grateful I have food in my kitchen and get to make different food choices about what I have for my breakfast. As I spoke these words out loud, the tightness in my body softened. I felt more spaciousness and a sense of relief, and I breathed easier. The more genuinely grateful I became for what I already had, the more relaxed and at ease I felt. The weight of the overwhelming mental and emotional dark clouds promising treacherous storms lifted. My energy shifted out of the grip of the rushing, colliding fears. I was ready to take it to the next level. I took another conscious breath and opened my Louise Hay Power Thoughts affirmation book intuitively to the page. I am safe where I am. I create my own security. On the second page it read, I trust myself and I trust life to support and protect me. I closed my eyes and allowed myself to feel the impact of each affirmative word and sentence as I repeated them. As I did this, tears shed from my eyes and streamed down my cheeks, releasing the old cellular memories. Each time I repeated the affirmation, I welcomed the empowering new thoughts and energy frequency as I inhaled deeply my breath. With each exhale, I released more outdated limiting thoughts, beliefs, and associated energy frequencies. Once I felt ready to move on, I invited myself to imagine what it might feel like to experience the feelings I truly desired to feel. As I swayed my body from side to side, holding the Power Thoughts affirmation book close to my heart, I imagined the feelings of my life filled with wonderful opportunities, divine security, joyful connections, and supportive resonance that delighted my heart and soul. I dared myself to imagine what it might feel like to run my thriving massage business filled with a steady flow of grateful clients, overjoyed with the services they received. I imagined my clients feeling more than happy to make the financial payment exchange, knowing that their massage experience had exceeded their expectations. I imagined what it would be like to share open-hearted hugs and warm smiles with them before they departed. As I kept playing with these kinds of imaginations and feeling frequencies, I felt more secure that all was well in my world. Even if my logical mind had no idea how, I repeated that the how is none of my business. Nothing beats experience to help you discover what works for you or not. I realized how powerful the practice of gratitude truly was in transforming my life. It has become an integral part of my daily rituals to support and enhance myself with abundant thinking energies. Whatever you focus on grows. So the more you focus on things to be grateful for, the more your abundant thoughts and feelings grow within you. Along with the practice of gratitude, my daily wellness toolkit included choosing one or more of the following: affirmations, yoga, meditation, salt baths, dancing, walks in nature, oracle cards, journaling, authentic conversations, healthy, yummy foods, intuitive life coaching, and taking inspired actions from my heart. As the following weeks and months passed, I continued to set up my massage business. Over the next few years, my business grew with rave reviews from my clients. My Mountain View massage business became the #1 rated day spa on TripAdvisor in Hamner Springs Village. A few years later, the opportunity opened up for myself and my partner Steve to launch our joint dream of running a wellness retreat and day spa together in 2015, which we did for 9 years. The practice. The art of gratitude to transform your life is really about meeting yourself exactly where you are with this profound and simple tool. It's not about being a nice and good person, pretending to be grateful when you're not. Practicing gratitude artfully is a bit like being a caring parent dealing with a scared little child. The art of gratitude is gently taking the hand of that child and guiding them over to where all the good stuff is happening. Before long, the child starts to forget what they were upset about. The fears and tears get replaced with more joy, laughter, and creative imagination. Step 1, ask yourself, what am I truly grateful for today? Step 2, ask yourself the same question again until you feel your awareness shift onto something you are genuinely grateful for in your life. Step 3, keep speaking out loudly about what you're grateful for until you feel a tangible shift in your energies and thought processes. You'll notice your body is more relaxed and spacious. Step 4, choose another helpful practice from your wellness toolkit or visit my website, www.maryjohalligan.com, for great tools. Step 5, know and accept that you are worthy. You can transform your life to follow your heart's desires and live your highest joy.
Beautiful, Mary Jo. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, I remember as you were speaking, one of the phrases that you said just really jumped out at me. I am grateful that I remembered to breathe. I think that's what you said. And I thought, wow, isn't that the way it goes? A lot of people will say, I can't think of a single thing that I'm grateful for. But if you can just find that one thing, even if it's as simple as remembering to take a breath, all of a sudden it starts to flow. And then that's what happened to you. You get several other things that you suddenly are grateful for, you know? I think that's beautiful. And I think that's what people need to learn when it comes to gratitude. You know, you don't have to be grateful for world peace, you know, unless world peace comes, of course. But you can be grateful for the peace within. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And what you talked about, the breath, you know, it may seem very simple, but it's the simple that is the most profound. So
Right.
to remember the breath is the key to everything, to take the good deep breath. And going back to talking about, you know, the one thing I wanted people to walk away from my retreats, whether it was a 1-day retreat, whether it was a 1-hour massage, whether it was a 1-day yoga wellness retreat, whether it was a 10-day deep dive detox retreat, whether it was a quantum wellness retreat, whatever it was that I was sharing with people, the most important thing that I wanted them to leave the retreat with was breath awareness, to really have a conscious awareness and to know that no matter what goes on in their life, they have that available to them. They have the availability to choose to take the good deep breath, because that good deep breath, as I'm sure you're well aware, opens the heart to open up into the next more expansive, enlightening possibility, or we can call that into guidance or love, rather than close down into that sympathetic overdrive, fight, flight, or freeze, which goes into everything, you know, which is just a survival nature, but it closes us off from our hearts and from our guidance and from that sense of being supported. So it's very simple, but it's everything. So remembering to breathe was the key to remembering to actually access even something to be grateful for, to be genuinely grateful for. And that's one of the, you know, if I probably could have made that in capitals, genuinely grateful for, because I think that's where people get hooked up, is people, you know, again, think I need to be grateful for world peace, or I need to be grateful for that, but they're not feeling it in their heart. So the key is to feel it in your heart. What am I genuinely grateful for in this moment?
Right. Yeah,
genuinely grateful. And when you can connect to that, there's a resonance, there's an energy, there's an alignment that's happening, because it's coming from a deeper authenticity, a deeper knowingness of the gift of life, the gift of breath, the gift of the moment. So yeah.
Well, I think
So
there's
simple.
another side of this. Yeah, I think there's another side of this that I'm just thinking about as you're speaking.
Yeah.
What is one thing that we all take for granted? Well, our breath. How many people ever even think about their breath? Unless we're doing this kind of work, unless we're on this kind of a path, most people don't even think about breathing. It's just something they do, right?
I kind of sure it's kind of funny to me now, but you know, I mean, it's amusing and it's not. But when I started my massage business in Hamner Springs, I started in 2009, 2010, which is where some of that story that I just read out was relating to, that transition. Again, that was a huge transition, because I was transitioning out of employee into entrepreneurial. And I know that I'm in a similar transition, which is very apt that I'm writing this chapter reflecting on all of that as I evolve into this next transition. But yeah, when I started my massage business, and I already had a yoga background. So I already had a background in things and that's one of the reasons why I needed to transition out of where I was working, because I knew I had a different way to share massage with people and to connect. That massage really was more than just a physical thing, that it was more of a body, mind, you know, energetic, integrative healing modality, really. And the key was the breath. The key was the breath. And so when I remember in those first days, this is back in, remember, 2010, and I remember some of the clients, I would start looking to communicate with them as I was massaging, to breathe deeply, and deep tissue, we know we breathe deeply, but it really is the key for the muscles to release the tension, the mind to release the tension, the muscles to release the tension. So I would be very much keen in my massage techniques with the person's breath, but often I had to teach people how to breathe, just for exactly what you just said, because people didn't have an awareness of their breath. And I remember people going, you know, they would laugh sometimes of going, of course I'm breathing, you know, because they just didn't think of their breath. If I'm alive, I must be breathing. Right, so then so most of what I did for years, educating people around the breath, to understand it's not just about breathing, it's how you're breathing, it's the mechanism of breathing, and teaching the simple science of the difference between operating the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. However, what I will share to you, at least in New Zealand, and now it's, you know, really around the world, but in 2011, you may recall, or you may not, in the States especially, you know, in New Zealand, but you may have heard about these big earthquakes that happened in Christchurch. Does that ring a bell at all, if you remember? Yep. And so where I was situated was in this beautiful village 2 hours from Christchurch in Hamner Springs. It's a beautiful wellness village, beautiful thermal hot pools, and that's where I initially had the massage job before I started my business. So in 2011, in February 2011, those big earthquakes happened, and there was 100 and something people that got killed in them. But it wasn't just one earthquake. There was shakes continuously. There was more. There's like 10,000 shakes. So people's nervous system was incredibly rattled, and so levels of anxiety, and you can imagine their sense of security and uprooted from one day to the next. And the more that it was consistent. And so I'll tell you, people started getting more interested in their breathing because of the levels of anxiety, and more and more talk became about breathing. So pre-2011, people would giggle when I started talking about the breath. Post 2011, not so much. And so, right. It's like anything in life, isn't it? It's like, you nearly have to get unwell to discover what wellness is, or you get sick to discover what health is, or even to appreciate it. So it's the same thing with the breath. Like anxiety is that holding of the breath and that fight, flight, or freeze. So then learning how to breathe again is like, oh, okay, I feel more grounded. I feel more connected. I feel more at ease and peace and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's a,
well, I wasn't trying to start a full conversation about breath. My point in bringing that up is that we take it for granted. And so when we can bring awareness to something that we take for granted and express gratitude about it, this is really the point of my conversation. The question that I ask myself sometimes is, well, if I take that for granted, what else am I taking for granted that I might be grateful for? And I think your whole point in your chapter was to bring people to a place of using gratitude as a way of dissolving those habits of anxiety. That's the point of the chapter. And so I just wanted to highlight that as just something that people can think about. And the other point that you made in your book, which I think is also very important, is the idea that sometimes you have to nurture and love your inner child because that child believes that he or she did not get proper nurturing during regular childhood. And so as an adult, I have the responsibility now, the responsibility and the opportunity actually, to go back and reparent my inner child with the kind of love that I really would have wanted to have. And that is another way for me to get connected to gratitude. So that's really what I was trying to say here. And I wanted to say thank you for sharing your chapter, very touching chapter, and for offering this beautiful practice, for helping people to learn how to practice gratitude.
And if I can just share one more little point, I see gratitude as a bridge, and that it can really bridge out of, from fear to love. And that is really, it is that way, as you said, turning the inner child or that part of us that is in fear or scarcity or whatever that is, of focusing in what can go wrong, or all the ways things are, as you said, things are, looking at the glass half empty is another way of saying it. So it's a way to bridge, to shift our perception and to start focusing, to refocus our lens, because it's all about focus and the lens that we're looking through. And so we start focusing. Gratitude helps us to remember, oh yeah, as you said, because when we're in fear, we forget and it's just survival. But then we start to remember, oh yeah, my breath. Oh yeah, I have a roof over my head. Oh yeah, I have food in my cupboard. And in this now moment, all is well. Like the deeper truth of it is, in this now moment, I am okay. And then from that place of being okay, I can start to look at the glass half full and get excited about the glass half full. And how am I going to, how am I going to play with the glass half full in terms of imagining how I want to, actualize my life and focus and all the rest of it. So yeah, to me, I see it as this powerful bridge, and that's why I'm so passionate to keep sharing about it. I'm still sharing about it, and I'm still using it in my own life every day. And even if I'm away and in an environment where we're not practicing gratitude, I really feel the difference. So to me, it is something that's a continuous practice. And I think also, I think it's something, as you said, that can be bypassed as being too maybe wishy-washy or too simple. But as you said, again, with the breath, it's the same thing. It's often the simple things that are the most profound and the most transformational.
Right. Yeah, well, I can tell that you're passionate about it, and I think that's great. It certainly comes through when you're reading or you're writing and in the way you read that. So, friends, I just want to remind you, this is another fabulous example of the kind of fantastic and inspiring material that you can find in our book, Gifts of Wisdom. So if you haven't already purchased a copy, or if you'd like to maybe give one to a friend of yours and grab a copy for that purpose, please head over to our Amazon book page, and I've included the link below here. Also, if you'd like to connect with Mary Jo directly, please reach out to her on her website at maryjohalligan.com. That link is also on the screen below. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope to see you again for some of the other videos in this series. I wish you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. Bye-bye for now.